Great. So, welcome and hello and good morning. And once again, my name is Lisa Reed. I'm the Chief Learning Officer for the North Carolina Center for Nonprofits. We also have Rebecca Beck with us, who will be, and we'll both be assisting with chat and any particular questions that you may have. So, we're delighted to have you join us today for Cybersecurity Made Simple, Protecting Your Mission and Your Donors with Kimberly Simon, who's with us. Before I turn it over to Kimberly, just to those of you who are not familiar with the center, our mission is to educate, connect, and advocate for North Carolina nonprofits. It's important to us at the center to assist nonprofits to build organizational practices that address the nonprofit leadership gap while lifting up equity, diversity, and inclusion in all our North Carolina nonprofits. Today's webinar will be recorded, and a wraparound email, including the recording, will be sent to you after the webinar. And again, please use the chat box for any questions that you may have for Kimberly, and that she will answer them as we go through. So I'm going to turn it over, but I think we're going to start with some introductory video before Kimberly jumps in, and then we'll go from there. Thanks again for coming.
My name is Kimberly Simon. I am a cybersecurity author, keynote speaker, and strategic advisor for organizations looking to design, implement, or strengthen their IT and cybersecurity programs. For everybody that checks, please contact me after. I will arrange cybersecurity awareness training for you. Why are we surprised of the growing threats and that people look to us to guide them on what they should do? People look to us to protect their information. So there is a growing battle between efficiency and security, and it will only continue to grow. Only continue to grow. I'm here to guide organizations through planning and executing on IT and cybersecurity strategies that not only protect, but also fuel growth. It is my hypothesis that organizations that embrace a culture of security are the ones best positioned to thrive and sustain themselves in today's economy.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Kimberly Simon. I am your presenter for this session. So let me share my screens. Today's session is titled Cybersecurity Made Simple. We'll be looking at how you can protect your mission and your donors. Let's start with the accessibility. So my name is Kimberly Simon. I am an African-American woman in my late 30s, not telling you how old. I am wearing a purple blouse. I am sitting in my home office with a lovely blue, white, and gold painting behind me. I'm excited to start this session. I'm sharing my details in case you have any questions that we don't get to. Often people have a question later or they speak to someone on the team and they want to come back and ask something. But today we'll certainly go through a few things that you can start doing. I have some tips on what you can start to do. And of course, you'll have a copy of these slides. My email is ksimon@growthofficepartners.com. So before we start, just to introduce who Growth Office Partners is, we do two things. We do cybersecurity and AI enablement. So think of us as being that partner that helps you protect your organization and then also helps you scale and do more and become more efficient with AI enablement. So think risk assessments, policy, compliance, email protection, cloud security, data backup, and all of that fun stuff. And then we have AI enablement, which allows you to, do more good with less grind. And we'll talk about what that looks like. So things like grant writing assistance, AI does it, not me. Volunteer scheduling and all of that good stuff that seems to take you more time. Given the time that we're in today, you really don't have to do any of that manually. So that just introduces who we are. Cybersecurity and AI enablement, very simple. We do two things. So let's get into it. What's actually happening in North Carolina right now for nonprofits? So in 2024, over 2,000 organizations in North Carolina reported data breaches. That was a record high because it impacted over 6 million of our residents. So breaches came from familiar causes such as email spoofing, phishing, ransomware, and the risk now touches businesses, healthcare, government, and yes, nonprofit. So my goal today is to bring this reality to you. So a lot of nonprofits think that, hey, it could never happen to me. It couldn't happen to us. It couldn't, we're too small. We don't use a lot of software. We don't use a lot of applications, so we're not at risk. And my goal today is to basically get you to a point where you're thinking that there's some things that I can do, that we can do to start protecting ourselves. These numbers are not abstract. They represent real people. So your donors, your volunteers, your staff, and 1 in 3 adults in North Carolina have been affected by data breach. The threats are not limited to Fortune 500 companies because that's not how data moves. We know that data affects everybody, your payroll systems, your email systems, your vendor tools, your donation records. So today we'll be looking at those things that you should be thinking about, but nobody wants to think about these things. And often what happens with cybersecurity, it's only when an incident happens that you think, gosh, we should have done something. Oh, now we're stuck. We've lost our data. Maybe we should have backed it up. So at the very least, back up your stuff. So top 3 cyber risks for nonprofits. I'll tell you what the risk is, what it means, and the type of information that you should be protecting. As we go through this, please put questions in the notes, and I can't see them. So Rebecca, I'm going to trust you to stop me if you need to and ask me anything. But let's let's start with email phishing. So what that is it's when attackers send fake emails, and they're posing as your donors, as your vendors, as your board members, and they trick people, whether it's your staff or your donors, they trick them into clicking a malicious link. So they could even pose as you, and then they trick one of your donors into clicking a malicious email and putting in their credit card. So the examples of the data at risk is things like your donor list. Imagine what a criminal could do with a list of your donors. These are people who are willing to give. So these are people with heart. So if I could get a hold of that list and get an AI campaign going to get them to click on a link that looks like it's you and then get them to give, there's a lot of things that criminals do with that. So think of financial transactions that happen with your donations. So that with phishing or impersonation, one click can misdirect an email, and that could expose an entire donor list or trigger a fraudulent payment. And then suddenly a well-meaning volunteer or a well-meaning donor becomes a conduit for criminals. The second thing that we should be aware of for nonprofits is data exposure. So this is when information that shouldn't get out gets out. So, and we'll talk about AI because a lot of it is getting out that way as well these days. But, people accidentally or maybe in an unauthorized way share sensitive information from your CRMs, your fundraising platforms, your volunteer database, and there's some data that you should be thinking of that is at risk. So your donor names, their payment details, their client record, your beneficiary or client records, and obviously your volunteer information. You definitely want to protect that. So with data exposure, imagine your CRM or your volunteer database being compromised. So names, addresses, payment information, all that sensitive information, that's not just a reputational hit. That's a breach of trust. So definitely we'll be talking about how you can protect that. The final thing is ransomware, malware, and operational disruption. I want you to think of ransomware as you every day you live in your house, you make sure that you lock everything, and you go in and out. It's your home, you're safe. So you come in and you leave sensitive documentation there. One day, a cyber criminal gets into your house without you knowing. Oh, not a cyber, a robber gets into your house without you knowing, and they live there with you. So for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're living in your house. You have no idea, you haven't seen them. But what they're doing is they're going through all your stuff, all your family's stuff. They're looking at it, copying whatever they want to copy, and you have no idea. that they're there. One day you leave to go to work, you come back to try to get into your home, and the door is locked. And then they tell you that you have to pay them to get back into your house. That's what ransomware looks like in a nutshell. Cyber criminals get into your network, and then they either lock you out. If you're lucky, all they do is lock you out and ask you to pay to get access. If you're unlucky, they copy information. So not only are you locked out, but now you've got a breach where your information has left the building. So that's a bigger thing that you need to worry about. So they can encrypt, they can steal your data. And with ransomware, it's worse. It's they can encrypt your data. It's frozen systems. You can't deliver any services. You're basically at a halt. So that delays your grant reports, that delays your fundraising. Your entire mission comes to a grind. It comes to a halt until you pay or until you rebuild. And in each case, it's not just about cybersecurity as it's not just like a technology issue. It's about protecting people, because whatever is happening, we're talking about it as technology, but it's affecting real people. It's affecting your donors, it's affecting your clients, your volunteers, and you now have a bunch of work that you don't want to do now, contacting those people who probably would never work with you again. So that's what you're looking at for the top three cyber risks that we have. So, why are nonprofits targeted? And really here, approximately 60% of nonprofits in the US have reported experiencing a cyber attack of some way. And I'm pretty sure all of us here have experienced some sort of a phishing attack. Globally, many nonprofits show vulnerabilities. So surveys show that at least 27% have fallen victim to cyber attacks. And the reason why nonprofits are attractive to cyber criminals is because of the information that you store. The information you store is very useful. You've got regular people who have a heart, who have money to spare, and this is the information that they want. You're taking people's payment records, their security numbers, social security numbers sometimes, but you certainly have, their name, their address, and all of that good stuff that can really help a cyber criminal start to build a profile to attack someone. Another reason why cyber nonprofits are a target is because, typically there just isn't enough budget to invest in IT, and in building a program, or in being compliant, or in having insurance, or whatever it is. So, and often you guys work with a lot of third parties, you work with volunteers. So it's so hard to protect a network that a lot of other people have access to. I'll give you a real world example. Here's an example of Beach Acres. They're not a global charity, but a nonprofit doing work in its community. In 2024, there was a threat actor that gained unauthorized access to their systems. They discovered the breach and began an investigation. And now this is the headache. They had to contact each and every one of their stakeholders and let them know that this has happened. So by law, you have to do that when you've had a breach of some level. And then the data, they had to talk about what happened, the data that may have been exposed. And you want to do that because you want people to change their passwords. You want people to now be aware and maybe check their bank accounts more often, whatever it is. The data potentially exposed included personal and sensitive information of clients, of beneficiaries, of staff, of volunteers, the kind of data many nonprofits handle daily. And this shows the reality. You don't need to be a large national organization to be targeted. You store the data that criminals want, so you are at risk. And when a breach occurs, it just brings everything to a halt. So that's a real world example that we can all just relate to. And then before I talk about, how to protect yourself, I want to talk about cyber insurance. I realize that a lot of people may not have heard of it. So I've been doing these talks a few times. And sometimes I bring up cyber insurance and people go, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm not selling insurance. I don't sell insurance. But think of it this way. You've always had insurance, maybe, for your office. But today, where is your sensitive information? It's no longer in your file cabinet. It's no longer in your filing cabinet. It's on your laptop. So it's your data. That's what you're actually trying to protect. So the same way that you have auto insurance, you should really be thinking about cybersecurity insurance. Why? Because cybersecurity insurance covers financial losses from cyber incidents. So God forbid something happens, like you have a data breach or there's ransomware or a fraudulent funds transfer. You have your insurance to help you. It's like a disaster recovery funding when your systems go down. So insurance keeps your mission alive. Insurers, however, today require proof that you're doing the basics. So just like your auto insurance wouldn't cover you if you drive without a seatbelt, cyber insurance won't cover you if you operate without baseline security. So back in the day, you could get insurance and you would just simply, they'll send you a form. They'll say, are you doing these things? And you click yes, 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 and all of that. And today, that's no longer enough. Why? Because ransomware claims came up over 74% since 2021. So if you think of an insurance company having to help pay for all these breaches that you're hearing about every day, it's just not realistic. So what they've done now, they've made it harder to get insurance and even harder to get your claim paid if you don't do the basics. So the carriers need to basically now verify that you're doing, they've lost billions to ransomware. So now they don't just underwrite nonprofits unless they show evidence. So you need to show that you're doing basic things to protect your environment. And we are going to look at what some of those things are. But what I'm getting at here, and just to close off this part, what I'm getting at here is everything works together. Your cybersecurity, your compliance, and your insurance, your trust. So compliance proves that you meet legal and founder requirements, and then your insurance proves that you can recover if there's a cybersecurity incident. And then this gives you trust with your donors, with your volunteers, with all your stakeholders that you've got a plan, like you've got something set up to protect you. So when combined, all of these things reduce risk, they lower your cost, and they boost your credibility. So you want to do it. And now I'm excited to start actually getting into the meat of this, where let's talk about some of the things that you should be doing. So I'm going to spend time talking about the cyber hygiene six pack. I know I came up with that. I don't have one, but anyway, so this is the cyber hygiene six pack. These are 6 things that you should be doing no matter what. At the very least, go and make sure that these things are being done in your organization. I also tell you a little bit about how to do it. So the first thing is passwords and multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication means that for you to access an account, you need more than just your password. So this is a password plus something else. So password plus a code sent to your phone, password plus a code sent to your email. This is something that you should be using personally on all your accounts, your email, your banking account. So at work, it should be on everything. So first of all, your password should be strong. I recommend that you use a password manager. So a password manager allows you to have different passwords that are complex and they're different across all your accounts. You know how a lot of us are probably using the same password across multiple accounts? You should not do that, because once one gets compromised, cyber criminals are like, oh yeah, I'm in. Let me just try everything else that I see that they're signed up to. So you should not be using the same password across all your accounts. Your password should not be password 123. If it is, you need to change that today. So you should be using strong, unique passwords, complex. But the easiest way to do that is to use a password manager. So definitely use a password manager. It creates the password for you and you don't have to remember it. You go in and then you can use that. Why it matters is that 80 to 90% of attacks start with stolen passwords. Imagine that. Password, something as simple as the password. But it's getting easier and easier, especially using AI, for criminals to get our passwords. And sometimes we just don't make them complex enough. Multi-factor authentication provides that extra layer in case your password is breached. So let's say they guess your password, but you had multi-factor authentication set up. It would send a code, which means it tells you, hey, somebody's trying to get into my account and I need to change my password. So you definitely want to have multi-factor authentication. And this is a minimum requirement. So if you're going to get any type of insurance, usually even grants, they want you to make sure that you have MFA enabled on all your accounts. Anything that's handling sensitive data, you should have it. Uh, think of your password as your front door. So you lock your front door. Great, good. But anyone can copy your key, or you can lose it, or somebody can guess that you've got one in the flower, or you've got a spare key on the flower pot in the flower pot up in front of your house. So multi-factor authentication adds a deadbolt or a peephole. So that if someone steals your key, then they can't get into your house without you approving it. How you can do it. So they definitely use longer passwords like passphrases, turn on MFA, as we said, and I would use a password manager. The second thing is regular software updates. You know how you get those software updates for your phone that say, hey, we've got a new version, and we go, oh, I'll do it later. That's just for your phone. That happens across all the systems and the applications that you're using at work. So you're doing it on your phone, but are you making sure that it's done on the other applications and the systems that you use at work? Because it's just as important. Typically, when there's a software update, people look at it as, oh gosh, I gotta do this. But what they've done is they've figured out some vulnerabilities that criminals are using to get into their system or into their application or whatever it is, and they've fixed that. So when you see something send you and say, hey, you need to upgrade to the latest version, you want to do that because that allows you to get the latest security features. Criminals really exploit outdated software. So usually ransomware, they've just looked at somebody that didn't patch their system, and then that's how they broke in. So you want to make sure that you are doing regular software and system updates. And there are ways that you can automate checking this so that you not only know when you're supposed to do it, but you can make sure everybody in the entire organization has done it. Imagine, so what we've talked about with MFA and passwords. So you've locked your door, you've put a deadbolt, you've put a peephole, you've done all of that, and then you leave your kitchen window open. Why? You're like, oh, well, it's stuck halfway. If it's stuck halfway, fix it. So it makes it easy for someone to climb in. So that's what outdated software is. It's an open window for criminals to just come in. So don't leave your windows open. The third thing is volunteer awareness training. And this is not, so here I speak of volunteers because they come in and out so much, but for your team, certainly I'm assuming you're already doing some sort of security and awareness training. Why? Because 82% of breaches involve human error. We're so busy. And AI is making phishing emails very hard to recognize. Even the savviest of people are getting caught out. So, and you have rotating volunteers, people coming in and in and out. That high turnover is high risk. So a trained team, research shows that a trained team reduces incidents by 70%. Why? Because if you have a volunteer come in and you train them, what you're doing is just putting their mind to remember that, hey, don't just come in and start doing things. Yes, we have a mission that you're doing, but don't just come in here and start clicking on things and leaving things open. You're just getting it in their mind that there's a risk to do. So, you want to do short practical training that helps people know about phishing, scams, and risky behavior and how you can do it. You can do it quarterly. You can use tools. There's some free tools that you can use. And you can make reporting suspicious emails part of the culture. So in your newsletter, your internal newsletter, or if you're sending anything internally, you can say, hey, lately we've been seeing a lot more phishing emails that look like this, so that everybody is aware. Because you can have the best locks, but if someone props the door open for a stranger, it doesn't matter. So training teaches everyone to close the door after themselves. So it's not just you that's here that cares about cybersecurity, it's everybody else in the organization, including your volunteers. So certainly do security awareness training. We have and I was just saying we do security awareness training where we don't tell you when we're going to send some phishing emails. So you get on with your life, you're getting on with your day. Your volunteers are doing the same thing, and then every so often, a phishing email comes in, and then you get a report at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter that says, here are the people that clicked. Let them know they clicked, which email it was, so that they're more careful. And then let's make sure they go back and do that training, so that there's always, hey, I had to go back and do the training because I clicked on the link. And it makes it fun. It makes it, something that everybody's always thinking about, instead of just something you think about when you enter the organization and nobody brings it up until next year. The fourth one is data backups. I spoke about this before. Oh my goodness, the things that I have seen. People who do not have any backups. So I want you to think of the worst thing right now happening. You come to work tomorrow morning and your computer just doesn't go on. It died on you. It's done. It's gone. It's just not coming on. Something happened with the plug. It fried it. It's not working. Do you have everything backed up? Or would that be like, oh my goodness? So you need a secure copy of your data stored separately from your main system. We've had ransomware attacks, or where they had a ransomware attack, and then they had backups, but the backup was in the network that got hacked. So we always say follow the 3-2-1 rule. So you want 3 copies. You want 2 of them stored differently. So one could be in the cloud, one could be in an on-premise server, and then you want one offsite, so that if something happens there, you guys can continue to work. So definitely backup, backup, backup. If you do not take anything away from today, make sure that you have backed up your files, you've backed up your donor information, your volunteer information, because you've worked really hard to get it. So how you can do, and make sure you've encrypted those backups so that, nobody gets access to them, and you're testing that quarterly. There's a lot of services that can help you to, if you wanted to do it yourself, definitely get your backup done. You wouldn't run a daycare without fire drills, right? So backups are your data fire drill. They make sure that you can reopen the next day if a disaster was to happen. The next thing is access controls. This is a funny one. I've seen companies that brought someone in to do their website. So let's say you brought somebody in to do your website, and then they do some work for you, and then they leave, or they finish what they're doing. And then they still have access to all of it. They still have access to your network. They still have access to change things on your website. Do you know today who has access to your information? Who has access to your network? Who has access to certain applications? Who has access to certain software that you use? Are they even still supposed to have it? So you need to restrict data and system access based on people's job role. Right now, a lot of organizations, especially nonprofits, just, because sometimes it's just lack of resources. You just have everybody join the company and they have access to all the files. So you need to minimize exposure if one account is compromised. This also, if you're restricting it, it prevents accidental deletion or data leaks. And it also helps you with compliance. So you definitely want to do your access controls and make sure that you have a checklist for when new staff or new volunteers join you. So you have a checklist of, okay, here's exactly what we do and here's what we give them access to. And then when they leave, whether a staff member is leaving or a volunteer is leaving, you have another checklist that says, hey, here's everything we need to make sure that they no longer have access to. I'm not saying that that staff member or that volunteer is a risk, but imagine if they lost their laptop on the bus. Now your stuff is at risk because they lost their laptop. So it's not always that person that becomes a risk to you. It's, in case they are breached. So always review your access list at a minimum every 90 days. So think of it this way. In your office, only a few people have the key to the filing cabinet with the donor checks, right? So the same thing online. It should work exactly the same way. One key per role, and no one should have, not multiple people having the master key for everybody. So that's certainly something you want to look at. The final thing in our 6-pack is device protection. So anti-malware and encryption. So protecting laptops, phones, and tablets that hold payroll and client information is important. So right now, some people may think of it as, hey, okay, we're doing all we're doing, and you're just protecting the devices. But have you remembered to also make sure that you're including the phones, the tablets that people access when they get home, because that stuff also has sensitive information. Lost or stolen devices have been a top cause of nonprofit data breaches. Imagine locking your office. So we've talked about all these other things that you've done. You locked your office, you've put in all these controls, spent money on it, and then somebody leaves their laptop or they leave their phone on a park bench. And it has donor files and it has info, all this information. So device protection ensures that even if something's lost, even if a device is lost, so you lose your briefcase, it's still sealed shut. So definitely having some sort of device protection is recommended here. So that's it. That's the six pack, the cyber hygiene six pack. Those are the six things we've just gone through. I've gone through this in detail because I wanted to really highlight that at the very minimum, these are the things that you should be doing at the very minimum. Right now, you know, when you get these slides, go and start checking that these are happening. Now, we talked about cyber insurance. But let me give you a real life case study before that. So this is another case study where they did not have, this is SF Jazz, so they're a nonprofit. And if you think of it, they're San Francisco Jazz, small, you know, nonprofit, they're local. They thought, oh my gosh, who would even think to hack us, right? Who would even think to get our information? But nobody's exempt from this. It's not like cyber criminals sit there and then they research. We often think that cyber criminals work in the same way that we work, where whether if you're a private company, you sit down and then you have a target customer list and you go out and you really target that industry, those people. Or if you're a nonprofit trying to get more funders, you sit down and you study, okay, who are we trying to get in touch with? Who cares about our cause? They're not sitting down doing that. It's a blanket that's gone out to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So it's not that they're sitting down and specifically targeting you. It could just hit you because you are the lowest hanging fruit. So what the cyber criminals are doing is really just looking for the lowest hanging fruit, and don't let that be you. So these guys had not done any updates. They hadn't done any backup. And you know, that attack really brought their mission to a halt. We talked about cybersecurity insurance. So I wanted to just be clear that that six pack that I shared with you, it doesn't cover everything that your cyber insurance will require. They will likely ask you for additional things. So in addition to that, that cyber pack is a foundation. They will definitely ask you for that. It's a foundation. Think of the six baselines as your entry ticket, right? But to actually get through the door, insurers may now also ask for two or three more from this, especially EDR. You have to do it. So let me talk through each of these really quickly. So email filtering and phishing protection, I don't have to tell you about that. You know how important it is to protect our emails. All of us are communicating through email. So email protection, 90% of breaches start via email. So definitely want to do that advanced protection for your email. The second thing is endpoint detection and response. What it is antivirus on steroids. EDR uses AI. So same as criminals are using AI to do bad, we're also using AI to do good. So this is EDR basically is like AI that it knows you. And then it knows your behavior. So all of a sudden, if somebody logs into your network at 2 a.m. in the morning, it will flag that because we know you're not open at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it will flag that, it will close doors. It will be like, okay, this is so out of, we know that Kimberly does not turn on her laptop and start, extracting data at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it's not her. So it's using AI to detect certain behavior. So certain things happening. So if a file is opened at a certain time and it's by somebody that typically doesn't open it, AI will flag it and will come back to you and say, hey guys, just so you know, we have this. You need to now tell us if it's a false positive or if we need to investigate further. EDR, you gotta do it. You have to do it. You should be doing it. Incident response planning. Oh my goodness. You have to do it, not only for insurance, but you should want to do it because it's really you sitting down and saying, if the worst happened, what are we going to do? So you've thought about it for your house. If the worst happened, I have a bed next to my bed. I don't, but I'm just saying, if you if something happened, you've thought about if somebody broke into our house, how are we going to protect ourselves? If somebody broke into your network, how are you going to protect yourself? Who are you going to tell? Ghostbusters. I'm sorry, that just came into my mind. Ghostbusters. Anyway, who are you going to tell? So you should have a plan that says, if there's a cyber incident, we need to let Kimberly know, and then Kimberly and so, we need to jump on a call, but it can't be on the network. Remember, you no longer have access to it. How are we going to communicate? Because now okay, now we figured out how we're going to communicate. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is who we have for forensic. We know that if we need to contact legal, this is the lawyer that we would contact. You really don't want to start figuring all of that stuff out when an incident happens. So you already want to have thought about it. You have the playbook. This is a funny story. It actually happened to someone. They had an incident response plan, but then it was in the network that got hacked. So nobody had it off the network. So they had done it. It's just that when the incident happened, they no longer had access to it. So make sure that it's stored. It's not stored just on that network. You've actually stored it outside as well so that you can access it in case something happens. Third-party vendor management. Right now, you should have an inventory of all the vendors that you work with, all the systems that you work with, and you should know what information you're sharing with them. And this can be done for you because, as I say it, I know that it's making you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. That can be done for you. But you should have an audit of all the people that have access to your network, all the vendors that you're working with, what information they have access to, because you can protect yourself all you want. Think of it as you do everything we've just talked about to protect your house. And then you give your neighbor a spare key just for emergencies. You give your neighbor a spare key. And then your neighbor just doesn't care. They leave that key just in front of their door outside with your address and your name so that, if they get broken into, you're done for. So definitely think third-party protection. Network segmentation is just that. So secure remote access. A lot of us are working from home. Some people work when they're traveling. Have you thought about secure remote access? If that's how you're set up. I know that for some nonprofits, they don't allow that. People still go in at this point. Logging and monitoring, what it is just it logs. So for certain software or applications that you're using, especially the ones where there's a lot of sensitive data and definitely the ones where there's financial information, you want to know who's accessing them at what time. That way, if there's an issue, we just, your log monitoring will tell you, okay, we have a log. The incident happened on Tuesday and it was Kate that came in. And she accessed this file. Not only did she access them, she copied them, or not only did she copy them, she downloaded them. So you would have that. It just makes it easy and it speeds up detection in case something happens. And then obviously we talked about cyber insurance, take the risk if you want to. I would have cyber insurance and I don't even sell insurance. I'm saying that. Anyway, so the reality from the insurance desk is why I spoke about these additional things that you may need to do is carriers are moving from trust-based questionnaires to evidence-based underwriting. So they will want to expect you to submit screenshots and proof that you're doing it. One great way that works is to get compliant. So let's say you're required to be compliant with HIPAA, with NIST, or with any cybersecurity regulation, SOC 2, that will help you because all of these things are covered in a compliance framework, at a minimum. So, before we do that, if you can put in the chat any cybersecurity frameworks that you are already compliant with. So if you've done a compliance assessment before and you say, hey, we actually are certified to NIST, we're actually certified to this, please go ahead and put that. And bear in mind that missing any one of these controls can invalidate your claim, and it can cause denial of coverage. So even if it comes to renewal, they can refuse to cover you. And I've seen a lot of small companies that struggle to get cybersecurity insurance. No one will cover them because they just don't have the controls in place. It's just basically the insurance company waiting for you to make a claim, and they're just not going to do that anymore. So now we've talked about cybersecurity. So that was protecting your house. You should always start with that. You figure out how you protect your house, and then you start getting this really cool furniture or these really cool things that allow you to be comfortable in your house, that allow you to be more efficient with certain things that you do at home. And I want to talk about that today. And that's where we enter AI. So now let's go from protection to possibility with AI. If you've done all these things, once your systems are secure, so all those things that we've talked about, once you've done them, you are sitting on a gold mine. You've got years of data on your donors, on your programs, on outcomes of the applications for grants that you've done. So I want to talk about safe AI. Safe AI helps you to use that data to do more good with less effort. It only works if you've built a security foundation. So please, obviously use AI. I want you to use AI, but just do the basics. So you want a security foundation. Secure before you scale. Once you're secure, you can scale. The next step is AI. Cybersecurity equals protecting your data. AI enablement equals putting your data to use for you safely. So the same controls that protect your donor and client information also make AI use responsible, compliant, and insurable. So let's look at some things that you can use, AI for. So for nonprofits, 60% of nonprofit leaders say AI will improve program delivery and donor engagement. And AI saves time on repetitive tasks. And nonprofits are automating the nonprofits that are automating, you can see them. You can see them. Why? Because they're doing things faster, they're doing things more efficiently, they're winning at engaging with their donors, they're winning at getting more donors, they're winning at being, really sharing their message to more people. So you can tell the nonprofits that are really capitalizing on AI. And I want to say this, AI is not replacing people. It's just multiplying impact. So think of AI as your digital intern. It drafts things. You don't have to set it up to send anything. It drafts things for you. It summarizes things for you. It categorizes things for you. It analyzes things for you. So your people can actually focus on what technology cannot do. So if technology can send out all these things for you, track all these things for you, do your reporting for you, do your meeting notes, help you with all of these things. If technology can actually do that for you, imagine what you can do with your team now. You can focus your team on creativity. You can focus your team on building relationships and delivering programs so that you're really visible and you're really out there. The organizations that learn to use AI safely are the ones that will do more with the same stuff and with the same budget. So AI has been a game changer for nonprofits because, you've always operated, you've always done more with less. You've always done more with less. And now you don't have to operate that way. So let me talk through some safe AI use cases. So these are some automations that you can do today to change your life and give you some time back. What could you do with an additional 12 hours every week? What if I could tell you that AI can give you a minimum of an additional 12 hours every week? What would you do with that time? Imagine the relationships you could build, the events that you could attend, the grants that you could respond to. So when we talk about automation, here are some of the things that you can do. Now, I know you're going to have a lot of questions or like, we are an AI enablement firm, right? So some of these things you're already doing and you can do it using, Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever it is that you're using. But when you hear me talk about things that go beyond that, obviously, if you're using ChatGPT or Perplexity, for example, they have a limit in how long some of that documentation can be. So this is when I talk about these workflows, I'm talking about it's being done for you, where it doesn't have those limits that you're seeing sometimes in the public stuff. But anyway, so here are some of these things that you can do now with AI. Grant writing. How much time have you spent on grant writing? I was saying I did a webinar. It was yesterday or the day before for the Department of Transportation, and we were talking about how they can respond to RFPs using AI. And they're spending, 30, 40 hours responding to grants. And it's just not realistic because there's work to do. And what that means is you only end up taking part in 2 or 3 per quarter. So AI can help you with your grant writing and reporting. So it will draft the summaries. It will look at past proposal. It will do research on, hey, what are the grant, how are they going to be approving the grants, and make sure that before you submit it, you've covered everything. You can actually, before you submit it, say, okay, are we missing anything? Are there any red flags that could stop us from getting these grants? So if you're already using AI for your grant writing, you know what I'm talking about. You've cut your time for grant writing from 60 to 70%. And then, but obviously you want to do it because this part you're now using a lot of sensitive information. You're sharing stuff, you're sharing, all of these things. So this stuff I want to make sure that you're doing safely. Donor outreach personalization. This is phenomenal. I sit on a board for a nonprofit, and just being able to see them grow and use all of this stuff and get their security stuff in order is phenomenal. So when I first joined, when we had our board meetings, we would sit there and then they would give us cards because it's nice to get personalized cards, especially from board members. So we would sit there during our board meetings and we would be sitting there writing these cards and listening. And then it got so much at one point, especially when they had campaigns where they would send them to our homes. So I had one. They would send them to our homes for us to be like, hey guys, can you help us with sending thank you notes? You can automate that. You can really just increase your engagement with your donors. There's a lot you can do. So volunteer scheduling and automation, oh my gosh, you don't want to spend time doing that. And the easier you make it for your volunteers, the more you're going to attract. And then being able to actually highlight those people are coming in and they're giving you time. If you're able to highlight them on your social media and do a write-up on, people who complete a certain number of hours, just that attracts people and that gets the community talking, and it helps them share with other people in their network that, hey, I volunteer here and they just did a write-up on me. It's just great stuff you can do with AI that you didn't actually do and spend time. Okay, clearly I'm passionate about this part. So data cleanup, duplicate removal. Oh my gosh, are your files in order right now? So if I was to get into your computer, is everything neatly filed away? Do you not have any duplicates? Is everything clean? You want to make sure that's done. And then storytelling. No, I believe that no matter how much we grow as a society, storytelling will always be very impactful. So it's right now being able to come up with stories that really talk about your values, your mission, and attract people who resonate with that. AI can help you do that regularly. When you try to get a human to do it, life takes over. Sometimes they get busy, but AI can make sure that it's done regularly. So those are some of the things that you can use AI for. I want to do something fun here. Please, if you are already using AI for anything in your organization that is not on this list, can you put it in the chat just to give other people ideas? No, it's sharing. We all share information. Whatever I know, if I know it, please email me. I share information for free. I only charge you if you ask me to do some work. But if I know it, you can have it. So please go ahead and put it in the chat. If there's something that's really working for you, that's saving you time, that you've been using AI for, that you want to share with others. Thank you
Kimberly,
so
can we
much.
throw in a couple of questions if that's
Yes,
okay with you?
please. Yes, please.
Um, so Shawnice is asking, does the information you put in the free Chat GPT version remain safe for a from a cybersecurity perspective?
That's a great question. No, it does not. So you definitely want, and I'm getting into the cybersecurity part of it right now. You definitely want to be using the paid version. It's so worth it. It's $20 a month.
Hmm.
For the amount of information that we're sharing in there, especially if you know that you're not using it for Google type things where you're just saying, "Hey, what's this?" Like if the moment you start using it for anything personal or where you're actually entering information that is specific and your information, do the $20 a month. And just pay for the paid version. It has more security features. Once you've paid for that, go into your settings, and then you're going to start to see all these options for, hey, do you want us to have your data and use it to make the app better? Say no. Just do your security thing, and definitely make sure that you're using MFA as well.
One more question. Any suggestions on cost-effective backup systems for a small nonprofit?
Yeah, well, we there's a few you can use. Microsoft Azure is a great one. AWS is a great one. So I would use Microsoft Azure. You're already probably a Microsoft shop anyway. So use Microsoft Azure. AWS is great. It's in the cloud. AWS. Any other questions?
No, I think that's it for now. There are other suggestions that folks are talking to one another, so
Oh
it's
yes,
good.
please.
Yeah.
Please continue to share. And if you do you want to share some of those? Do you want to talk about any of those? I'm happy to if you want to read some of them out.
I think when you ask a question, one person uses Google Workspace, and it makes them crazy how much Google prioritizes ease of access and makes it so the default sharing is access for anyone with the link, so often by default.
Yeah.
That was one comment. One way I use AI a lot is to ask it to tell me how and any recent state of federal legislation will potentially impact our nonprofit. I have a gem, gem, is that what it is? Pin to be a
Yeah.
poli. Oh, go ahead, chime in.
Oh, no, no, no. Please go ahead and finish.
Oh, to be a policy expert that knows the basic description of our org, so it's ready to go.
That is great. And another tip I'll give you, if you've used Notebook AI, when we think about policy and when we think about things that are specific to North Carolina, you can really create documents that are specific, like where it's studied just us, you know. So yeah, that's a great use of AI there as well. Yeah, people are using AI to save a lot of time, and your output is just better quality, just better quality. So somebody mentioned risk, and I'm so glad that you're thinking, hey, as I use AI, am I safe? Absolutely, that's the right way to think. So using AI without risking security or trust. Avoid pasting sensitive data into public AI tools. So do not put donor names, SSNs, grant info into the public AI tools. Let's just go ahead and get the paid version. It's worth it. It's got better features. You're going to enjoy it more anyway. It's faster. You know how sometimes you say you have to wait? Just get the paid version. It's so worth it. And then, if the budget is there and it's a workflow that's really sensitive, get it done for you so that it's specific for your organization and it's in your network. So it's not public facing. Use private AI environments such as Microsoft. I love the Copilot. Microsoft Copilot is any if somebody is using Microsoft Copilot, please put yes. Isn't it amazing? I'm a Microsoft shop, so if you're Google and you're using the Google version, Microsoft Copilot isn't amazing. So basically, you are paying for the ease of not having to copy and paste your stuff into ChatGPT. So think about your files, your proposals, all of that stuff. It's already in Microsoft, right? So why should I now copy and paste the information that's in there into ChatGPT? What if I set it up so that if I use Copilot, it just searches my documentation that's in my network anyway? So it's like having your own ChatGPT specific for your company. Isn't that amazing? So you can ask it, hey, what was I'm working on a grant. Was there a similar grant that we submitted that did this? And then it'll bring it up so that when it comes down to listing anything, or you want to reuse some information, it's just easier for you to find. Or you can say, "Hey, Kimberly just gave again. When was the last time she gave?" It's yeah. So definitely the private AI environments are great. And then I have to say, please keep your six pack, your six cybersecurity controls that we talked about. Make sure that they're in there, especially if you are using AI. Make sure that you've done them. And then you may need to document your AI use for insurance. I've seen it being asked for RFPs as well. Just maybe not in your in your industry, but definitely you want to make sure that you're documenting where you're using AI. It will certainly come up when we do your incident response plan. So for an incident response plan, we would say, hey, what if somebody shared something via AI and then a donor found out or a volunteer found out and wanted to do something about it? You have to think, what would we do? So document where you are using AI. So from efficiency to ROI, what AI delivers when you automate safely, you're not just saving hours, you're saving opportunities. You're showing funders and insurers that you are forward thinking, you're compliant, and you're efficient. So this is as we think, where is the world going? Oh my gosh, you can be more efficient than you are today. You can gain back time by using AI. That's how you move from surviving to scaling and thriving. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Kimberly Simon. I know that you guys are nonprofits, and of course, we want to work with you. So we have an offer here for you to strengthen your mission and simplify your work. Every single person that is watching this right now has room to do two immediate things. You have two immediate wins right now available to you. So the first thing is, hey, I'm really stuck on cybersecurity. Typically, you do a risk assessment that shows you the gaps that, what you have and what you don't have, and then plans for implementation. If you've done a compliance assessment, risk assessments are supposed to be done at the minimum once a year. You're supposed to do this every single year. So to get someone to really get into your network and study everything and see what's going on. For the next 30 days, just for this group, we are giving nonprofits a special rate of $5.99 for a risk assessment. And then, obviously that's going to protect you. That's going to give you your plan for closing those holes and really protecting yourself. If you're like, hey, I've done all that and I'm just interested in AI, you don't even have to pay anything. Just simply scan the QR code and schedule some time. We'll talk through, whether it's me or someone else, we'll talk through some automations that you can do. You can go do them yourself, or you can work with us to do them. But if you just want some guidance on, hey, I want to automate some things, we can talk through, hey, where are you spending the most time? Where can we really recover some time for you? And those are the offers that we have. So click on if you are interested in either one of them, please go ahead and just scan the QR code and schedule some time and we can talk from there. I'll
Really
stop
quick
for some
before
questions.
everyone, I know we're at the end, but someone's asking, is Microsoft Copilot included if you're using MS Suite already? And I see the Copilot in there, but wasn't sure if there's an additional cost. Do they need to buy a premium version in
Yes.
order to stay protected?
Yes, there would be a cost. And actually to implement it properly, I know that a lot of nonprofits already work with like a managed service provider, like managing your IT. Your IT provider can help you enable that, and do it properly. But yes, you'll pay for it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kimberly. This is great information, definitely relatable and timely. So please, if you all would take a moment, I believe there'll be a survey link dropped into the chat for you to fill out. If you can just take a few minutes to do that, as well as if you're not already a member, which can bring you many benefits as well, there'll be a link in there and information to our membership page. Again, we want to thank you. Thank you, Kimberly, so much. And we hope everyone have a great holiday.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.